You know what I love the most? Cake farts. Does anyone remember that? Like there's, oh man, it was like the beginning, not the beginning, but like early on in the internet age. And maybe at the height of not internet porn, but it was kind of not the height. It was like the boom, the beginning of the boom of internet porn. You had this girl with no, nothing on except with no a t-shirt, made a tank top maybe, and it just the video started out. You know what I like the most? And then she'd go, "Ugh, cake farts," and then she'd sit on a cake and get the icing all over her buns. And she would spread her cheeks and she would fucking rip one. You just watch the icing fly off. I don't even know. I got in my car and I was thinking about something. I don't know if it was like what flavor of Kickstart I like the most. And that's just kind of how my brain works, and I'm sure millions of others as well. But like, you think of a phrase and it takes you somewhere. So I instantly was like, you know what I like the most? Cake farts. And it just, the whole thing came rushing back to me in one fell swoop of air. It was really entertaining. It was like a trend. It was like before trends were even a thing, I think. This is like, I want to say 2007, 2008, something like that. Cake farts. I mean, who doesn't love cake farts? Fucking love cake farts. But, man, I'm going to have to think of some of the other just instances of internet greatness that aren't super obvious, that not everybody would have saw. This is kind of gross, and I'm sorry, but I remember there was like, I worked at this paper factory where we cut sheets of paper into sizes for companies, for magazines, and all this other stuff. Basically worked on this paper cutter machine. And it was a good job, good money, but we had way too much access to the internet. And one day I came into work and there was just a huddle of guys around a computer. And because we all had computers, like I said, most of us had internet, and they were huddled around it. And like one guy was gagging, literally gagging. It was my buddy Aaron. He was gagging. He went to the bathroom and threw up. And I went over to see what he was watching. And it was like a priest and a nun outside in front of a church at night. And it was a porno, of course, priest and a nun. And the priest had his pants around his knees, and the nun had her face buried in his ass. And like, I'm sorry, this is graphic, but this is part of what you're going to get on this show. I am sorry. I'm telling this story. Leave now if you don't want to be completely disgusted. I'll give you 3 seconds. A 3, a 2, a 1. So, the nun had her face buried in the priest's ass, and like, you could tell she was eating his ass, but then all of a sudden her jaws expanded, like, her face ballooned up, and he farted, and shit. And the next thing you know, you see, I'm sorry, I warned you. Next thing you know, you see the gap between the corner of her mouth and his ass, and you see a fucking turd just transfer. The transfer of power just goes from one place to the other. Blasphemous as fuck, I know, I'm sorry. It's the video. Well, I didn't make the video. But like, and then she and then the nun just started like moving her face back and forth in between his cheeks and just smearing shit everywhere. It was the grossest shit. This guy named Derek was the one who found it. Fucking had everybody watching it. My buddy Aaron just threw up all over the bathroom floor. He didn't make it all the way, I don't think. But shit, man. That's just one of those moments in time, Like the disgusting nature of guys. That's a funny prank to guys is to, and probably girls around the world as well, but to try to gross each other out really badly. And that was a good one. Like, I didn't really get that grossed out. It was gross. Oh, I laughed a little bit too hard on that. Gave me that little slight back headache kind of thing. But yeah, that all stemmed from what I like the most, cake farts. Got straight into some bukkake. Straight into some grossness. So anyways, that was not the way we wanted to start this. I've got like 12 subscribers on this channel right now. I would almost hedge a bet that I'll have 9 after I release this. That's assuming I don't grow a single follower, subscriber, whatever. Oh my. Now I'm just thinking about gross shit. 2 girls, 1 cup. Like, man, that was around the same time. 2 girls, 1 cup. Literally like a martini glass full of shit. And the girls, it's hard to tell what that was. If I was a betting, I kind of am a betting man. If I were to put some money on it, I would say that was not real feces. The nun and the priest video, which I think was like a German video, because of course in between all the grossness, the nun was putting her head back forward. She's going, "I heißen Gott weiden Eiden," and and the priest is like, "Ooh, suchen, wachen, ruchen." Yeah, it was some sick ass German shit. I know some other countries don't see that stuff as gross as we do over here, but it's gross. It's definitely gross. Man, now I'm thinking of other things I'm not even going to talk about on here. This is not why I came. This is not why I decided to record while driving today. I promise. My initial thought was not the grossest shit that I've ever seen porn-wise. Look. Oh, man. Instead, I want to do one thing that transitions into another. 1, why in the world are trucks allowed on the road? Like, not semis, but like dump trucks or trucks that haul shit that are a little smaller than semis. I am not an auto guy. I am not. But how many of you have went down the road, got behind a truck that was carrying gravel, and that shit was flying out of the back and chipped your windshield, chipped your paint, fucked your whole world up? Like, how is it legal? How is it legal to carry an open container of gravel that blows out of the back or shakes out of the back when you hit bumps and ruins people's vehicles? Like, costs people time, money, effort into getting their vehicles fixed. Like, my last car, my whole windshield was cracked, and it was because of a rock off the back of a truck. That shit sucked. Like, that seriously sucked ass. Why is that allowed? I would like to know. Like, is there anyone out there that knows why it is perfectly allowed to carry gravel and it spill out of the back of your vehicle? I would like to know. I would really like to know. That takes me from trucks that damage to trucks that stupefy. Country music, songs about trucks, songs about beer, songs about my girl who's never near 'cause she's cheating. That was one of my worst country renditions ever. At work, they have country radio on all the time. And man, I realized, like, radio is for people that don't like music. I think I've come to that conclusion. Radio is for people who don't really like music, because they play the same 11 songs on the radio over and over and over. Like, it's seriously, what's that? Oh God. Luke Combs. Something like, I wrote it down. What is it? Keep the lights on, baby. Keep the something on, honey. Way down low. Something nice and slow. Something stupid like that. And that guy's not one of the worst ones. Like, I think that's Luke Combs. I could be off. I really don't like country music. I'm not a fan. I never have been. There are exceptions, like Chris Stapleton. I don't even think is country. That man's just a beautiful, soulful singer. Willie Nelson is awesome. Johnny Cash was awesome. There's some other country that I don't mind. There's some that I think is hilarious, like Trace Adkins. Now, don't get me wrong, that's total. Trace Adkins is the Limp Bizkit of country. Trace Adkins is the Limp Bizkit of country. He knows that he's no, like, artistic poet. He knows that his shit is just about having a good time and being catchy. And that is Limp Bizkit. And that is why I like Limp Bizkit. Because they don't take themselves seriously. I think we all thought they did back in the late 90s, early 2000s, but they don't. And Trace Adkins, if you've ever watched any of his music videos, again, I hate country music. I really do. But Trace Adkins has a special place in my heart musically, because if you watch his videos, they are fucking hilarious. Like, every single Trace Adkins video, except for like maybe a couple, are comedies. They are total comedies, and they are so freaking hilarious. They're wonderful. Like, Trace Adkins is wonderful. His wife shot him, nearly killed him, and he did not press charges. Didn't press charges. I don't even know if he divorced her. He did eventually, but like shortly after that, I don't know if he divorced her. But the radio plays the same 11 songs over and over, and it's like Luke Combs, at least in my area, Luke Combs, Carrie Underwood. Wouldn't it maybe next time I think before he cheats? Dude, that song, how do I get out of here? This is fucked. That song has been around for like 2 decades, man. Like, they should not be still playing that. They just shouldn't be. And it's same. She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy comes on at least every other day. Come on, man. Like, seriously? It's no wonder radio's dying. You can't do that. That's like I work out of town, and where I live, we have a radio station that plays Paula Abdul every 30 minutes. Like, you've got to fucking switch it up, man. You got to do something. That shit's not working anymore. Just keep the lights on, honey. Keep your pants off, baby. Take it real slow. Cake farts smell good. It's fucking lame. That's all I gotta say. I'm really having to take a detour today. I'm also going to make this a 2-parter because I didn't start recording anything until I was halfway home. So you're going to get 2 versions of In the Car with Bark on this one. You're going to get gross sex shit, bad country singing, and more. So let's transition out of the radio and into non-communicators and over-communicators, because both of them, I'm sorry, they piss me off. I just, for me, wasted words are such a pet peeve. Like, do you know that person who literally will tell you something, like they're trying to get the point across on something, and they'll tell you the same thing over and over in different words, or they will rehash what they are trying to say in different words. I am now a dick because of this. Because I'm 41, because my time is valuable, when people over communicate, I literally walk away. I either walk away or I say, get to the point, or cut the fluff. Something like that. I can't handle it, man. Like, you know how you get stuck with people? Like, say you walk into someone's room or you walk into someone's area and you stand in the doorway, or you're trying to walk out the door and people just won't let you. and they don't take social cues. And it's fucking incredible that people don't understand social cues. Like, I get it, we're all different. Totally get it. I'm almost on E. Fucking great. Didn't notice that at all. But people do not take social cues for shit. The ones that do, like, I want to be your friend. I want to be their friend. People that take social cues, please be my friend. Because it's amazing the ratio of people that miss social cues. It's mind-blowing. I can tell 99.9% of the time, maybe 100, when someone is trying to move on from whatever they're doing with me and move on to something else. Like, use your words wisely. Do not waste them. Get to the point. Be blunt. Be direct. Know when you've wore out your welcome. It's not real hard. You know, if somebody's inching away from you, it means they want to be all the way the fuck away from you. It's that simple. And when someone is like just nodding, saying I mean, seriously, this is hypocritical as fuck because I'm talking and you're listening. But how many people, this is what separates like good YouTubers, good podcast hosts, good public speakers from bad ones. Like never repeating the same thing over and over, which I am terrible at. I will repeat so many things on this podcast, it's not even funny. But the people that can stay interesting and not just talk over everything they've already talked about. That kills me, man. I have a really hard time being friends with people who are overly chatty. Especially if it's small talk. Because small talk is awful anyways. Hey, how are you? How's the weather? How's the kids? How's work treating you? We're hardly working? Working or hardly working? All that shit. I can't take it. It's really pointless and really mindless. I get pleasantries. I think pleasantries you could keep to pleasantries are that same style of conversation. You know, how's everything going? How you been? You know, you sneak in a couple of those questions just to show you do give a shit. And then you either find something good to talk about or you walk away. Like if I see somebody at the store, you know, the pleasantries happen. And if that's that, then it's like, well, good to see you, man. Have a good one. Good to see you. See you again in like 6 years in the store. You just gotta, I don't know. Time is just too important. But I would rather talk to an over-communicator than a non-communicator. Example. I have multiple people in my life that are acquaintances / friends who just don't fucking communicate. My wife's got a few of these too. Like, what about that person that you message and this is another bad part of the internet is like Messenger or WhatsApp, any instant messaging app, and I guess iPhone for that matter with iChat, iMessage, whatever the fuck it's called. I'm an Android person. To know, well, Android does this now too, but now to know when that non-communicator sees your message, and it might even be important. Like, hey, you know, I've got to work tonight, but I don't remember what my schedule says. I didn't get a copy. What time do I work this evening? You know, manager views it. You see that they view it. They never fucking respond. Holy shit, man. Like the easiest thing in the world. And I hate talking on the phone, so I am a serial messenger. But the easiest thing in the world is to respond to a message. You don't have to answer a phone call and get stuck with those over communicators. You can message as needed and as it goes. Granted, you can't message every single time someone messages you within a timely manner. But if it's been like days, that's a non-communicator. That's somebody that viewed your message. If it happens once, it's no big deal. Or maybe twice. But if it's that person that always views your message and either never responds or responds the next time you attempt to say something to them, and it's not one of those things where like, oh, they just don't like me. No, I've got people in my life that like I enjoy, and I think they enjoy back because they start conversations a lot. But then somewhere along the line, they just stop responding, which is fine, end of conversation. But then you need something, you reach out, and they're like, fuck this. I ain't got time to respond, so I just won't, or I'll do it next week. Fuck. You know? It's a good example of that as well. Doing YouTube stuff, doing podcasts. I need to, some things need planning. I've got real bad luck with podcasting because I've had so many different co-hosts on different projects I want to do. And, I make sure people agree to this stuff. Like, hey, I'm going to do this. You want to do this with me? Yeah, I'll fucking do this with you. And you do a project together. You do a collaboration, a podcast, something. And you just want to set up a time and date to record. You message them. They agree. And then you never hear from them. Like, then it's like the day of. And like, I'm heading up to the studio at 8:30. Like, you still good with it? They read it. They never respond. And then they show up at like 8:40. That's a non-communicator. That shit kills me. I fucking can't stand it. Makes me mad as fuck. Like, communication really is the key to everything. It's key to relationships. It's the key to success. It's the key to, your career being successful. Said that twice. Communication solves a lot. Relationships especially. Like, if all you do is fuck or occasionally fuck and eat together and watch TV, but you don't talk about how you feel or any of the problems of this, that, and the other, like, not good. Not good, people. Like, you got to talk. You got to open up. The best relationships ever are when you can open up about anything and everything. All of it. And I will say, I'm usually, sometimes I get all hypercritical about certain things. Like, right now is just a bitch fest. Most of these episodes are just a bitch fest. But I will be critical about myself for a minute. Because as much as I try to talk about the do's and don'ts of life, what I've learned in 40 years, what I haven't, I have definitely fucked up quite a bit. And that sucks because I see myself as like a very logical person, a reasonable person, and a person that tries to understand society and how things work and how people work. And I'm always striving to just be better as a human with dealing with other humans. But man, I've really fucked some stuff up in my life. Like, not to the point of no return, but I'll be a little candid. I've got a 20-year-old, and I also have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. My 20-year-old I had when I was 21. I was absolutely too young to have a child. But when you're young and just penis, vagina, you don't think about the consequences. You don't think about that stuff. But I was definitely way too young to have a kid. I was not grown up enough. I think 30 years old is a great starting point to think about starting a family. I think your 20s are a terrible time to do it, at least from my experience. But I had my oldest son at 21, and I wasn't ready, and I fucked that up. I mean, I didn't like disappear. It was nothing like that. I actually, when me and my ex-wife divorced, I actually fought in court to get custody of my son. It was a half and half thing, but I had to fight for full custody because she up and moved to Mississippi, and without telling me. So I had to. Luckily, I got her served because I got tipped off that she was doing that. Got her served in Ohio. By the way, me and my ex-wife get along fine. She's a really nice person. We never really fought. It was nothing like that. I just had to do what I had to do at the time with that situation. But I never left my child technically. I I was with him until he was 6. Then from 6 to 7, he was in Mississippi, so I had to visit while going through court. And then I successfully was able to get custody of him. And, that was that. The problem is, when I left his mother, I got together with a real piece of shit. I fell victim to, this girl's ways. Like, she just seemed to be someone that I was highly, highly into. And it turns out that she was a literal garbage human being. Absolute garbage human being. Well, that affected everything. I mean, it affected everything. My son did not want to be around her, but he's not a communicator, so he didn't communicate that to me. I was blind and didn't see. I feel like I would have saw it, like, if I was a little older, but I was too young and stupid to see it, so I just did not see it. Long story short, my oldest is in high school and literally asks if he can live with his grandmother, and then it all started making sense. And I was stupid, for me to not see the problem and to not see that I was causing him harm by being with someone terrible, because she wasn't outright terrible in front of me. She was sneaky. So I'm guessing she was very terrible to him when I was not around. Fucked up, man. I fucked up. And our relationship is not what it should be to this day. Like, we go do stuff, but I yearn to be closer to him now that I'm a little older, a little wiser. And like I said, we talked. We went and watched Ant-Man and Ant-Man Quantumania the other day. But, he poured some of his feelings to me at dinner afterwards. And, he's very, very right. The best thing I can do now is to tell him, whatever makes you happy, whether it's friends or being alone or whatever it is that brings a smile to your face, repeat that. And if hanging out with me is not one of those things, don't repeat that. Like, it hurts, but don't repeat that. And I don't think he has a problem with me personally. I think it's just like that resentment that I did put him through a situation like that. And I totally understand it, because my lack of relationship with my parents stems from a lot of things, but they're all simple. One of those things is my dad's choice in women. My stepmom, who I have no problem with right now. I just don't. But growing up, I had a problem with her because she was immature. She was petty and hadn't grown up yet, I guess. I don't know. But I didn't like her. Over the years, I figured out how to coexist with her and even like her. Not so much now. I haven't talked to my dad or my stepmom in a really long time. But I did figure out how to coexist with her and enjoy her. And, she was, as she got older and I got older, like, you figure shit out. But to put a child through that step-parent thing when the step-parent is not a good one, man, that's a massive fuck-up. That is a massive fuck-up. And I did that. I actually repeated what my father did. Because my dad, he left and remarried, and I didn't like her. And my dad had 2 more kids. Actually, in almost the exact same fashion that I have had 2 more kids. But I did the same thing, except his new wife was pretty much the beginning and the end. They're still together. I went through the garbage human being I spoke about, and I finally smartened up, left her. Life is great now with my wife and our 2 kids. But there's just so many similarities, and I never wanted to repeat anything that I went through, yet I did it. To a different degree, but I did. I repeated history, and I made my oldest not feel like he could be that close to me. And that's me and my father's relationship. We're not close. You know, we're not close. Difference being he's never tried really to be close. I'm trying, but I feel like, you know, it might just be too late. Doesn't mean I'll stop trying. I won't. You know, as a father, you love your children, and it's automatic. It's nothing you got to think about. But yeah, it sucks. It sucks to figure so much out, you know, through the life you live, and to still know you made those mistakes that you can't go back in time and just fix. Like, if I could go back in time, I would have never got with that person that made my son feel uncomfortable. Never. I wouldn't have. I just wouldn't. But I did. You know, I did. In my late 20s, I made, that was some of the worst decisions I ever made, was my late 20s. Then you fast forward, by the time you're 35ish, it's like, man, what was I thinking? Like, what the fuck was I thinking? How? Growth is real. It's a real thing. If you've got some shit figured out and you're mid to late 20s, like, you are doing well. But make no mistake about it. If something's wrong in your life, you gotta fix it. You gotta just fix it. I watched this show the other day. It's a great show, by the way. It's called Shrinking. It's on Apple Plus or Apple TV, and it's oh fuck, now I already forgot it. Jason Segel from How I Met Your Mother, and you know, I Love You Man, and lots of other stuff. Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Fucking love Jason Segel to death. Love him. Him and Harrison Ford, which Harrison Ford's fucking amazing. But this show, Jason Segel he's a therapist, and like, he's lost his wife died. Him and his daughter's relationship sucks because he's been in the gutter for a long time over his wife dying. But he's talking to all these people, you know, he's supposed to be helping, and he has a moment. He loses control, and he tells this girl who's complaining about her husband, which they have no kids, you know, no ties except for maybe financials. And he tells her to, you know, just leave. He's like, he's a piece of shit. You deserve better. Do you have somewhere you could go? She says, my sister's in Canada. He's like, go. Like, just fucking go. You know, I think he even said, just fucking go. Like, he's a piece of shit. He'll never change. You're wasting your time. Just go. Wouldn't it be amazing? That, like, all therapists should, sometimes that's what you need to hear. Because a lot of people enable. They enable, and they never shoot it to you straight. And that show instantly fucking went right into my top 5. Like, I've got to watch this, mix it into the top 5 of other shit I watch. Like, this is amazing. It's truth bombs, you know, people hearing truth bombs, and it's great. Like, it's great to hear them, but sometimes you got to give them to yourself. Like, if something's wrong, fix it. Yeah, it's scary. It's scary to make a decision. It's scary to make change. It's scary to uproot what you know. Like, if you're in your late 20s and you think you got it all settled and like, well, this is what I chose, I got to continue with it. No, you don't. You have one life. You have one. Like, some fuck ups you can't fix. Some fuck ups you can still get out of. You just got to make the decision. And I waited way too long on my biggest fuck up. The biggest thing I've ever done wrong in my life, I waited way too long. I was with that garbage ass human being for 5 years. And that was 4 years too long. Probably 5. That was probably 4 years and 11 months too long. We'll say 4 years. I didn't find out how terrible she was until about a year into it. And then by then it was like the financials, the house, the children, hers, mine. It was like, oh, well, this is just what I've done. I've just got to make it work. Stupid decision. Stupid fucking decision. Don't just make it work. Like, please. Like, if you have anything going on like this, don't just make it work. Like, fucking fix it. Change it. Jump off course. Do something else. Please. I mean, I beg of you. If you got something like this going on, fucking fix it. Just get angry and say, fuck this, I'm not doing this anymore. It's not as hard as you think. Once you do it, within a matter of fucking days usually, you already know that you did the right thing. Sometimes immediately. I'll see you guys next time. That's all I got. Got a little too deep even for me, but that's okay. This is therapy. This is my Jason Segel. This device recording and this device recording is my Jason Segel. Jason Segel. Guess I need it more than I thought. See you guys next time.